I'll never forget that day at the airport. My mom was dying, stage 4 cancer, barely able to walk, and we'd secured the last bulkhead seat on the flight, so she could stretch her legs and breathe a little easier. Then this woman in a bright pink blazer stormed up to the gate agent, pointed straight at my mom, and demanded that seat. Not asked, demanded, as if she owned the plane. Everyone froze. The gate area went completely silent, except for the boarding announcements echoing overhead. My mom, pale and fragile in her wheelchair, just looked down at her hands while this Karen raised her voice, insisting she had priority status and that my mom didn't look that sick. My blood boiled instantly, but before I could even move, the pilot stepped out of the jet bridge, still in uniform, and asked what was happening. I thought he'd smooth things over, like pilots usually do. But the second he heard Karen say, "That woman can sit in the back," I paid for comfort. Something shifted in his face. He looked at my mom, then at Karen, and I swear the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Let me rewind. My name's Alex. 6 months ago, my mom got the diagnosis no family ever wants to hear. Doctors gave her weeks, maybe a couple of months at best. She'd always dreamed of seeing the ocean one last time. She missed the sound of the waves ever since we moved inland when I was a kid. So I cashed in every favor, every mile, every penny to book a direct flight to the coast. Bulkhead seat, aisle, extra legroom, non-negotiable. Her legs were swollen and she couldn't sit cramped. We arrived early, checked in online, everything perfect. Mom was having a good day. She even smiled passing security. I wheeled her to the gate, parked by the window so she could watch planes take off, then went to grab her a tea. That's when Karen appeared. Mid-50s, perfect bob, designer handbag, the full entitled package. She leaned over the gate counter, tapping her boarding pass like a weapon. The agent looked uncomfortable, glancing at my mom every few seconds. I heard Karen, loud enough for half the gate to hear, say, "I'm Emerald Elite, and that seat was supposed to be held for upgrades. Why is it occupied by someone who clearly doesn't need it?" My mom's head snapped up. She never asked for pity, never complained, but I saw the hurt flash across her face. I rushed over, putting my hand on her shoulder. "Mom, it's okay. We have the seat assigned." Karen turned to me, sizing me up, then looked at my mom like she was an inconvenience. "Sweetie," she said, "I'm sure your mother will be fine in a regular seat. I have a bad knee. I need the space." Bad knee, while standing perfectly straight in 4-inch heels. The gate agent tried to explain the seat was medically preassigned, but Karen cut her off. "I am the cause. Call a supervisor." Phones came out. People muttered. Mom squeezed my hand and whispered, "Alex, let her have it. I don't want trouble." That almost broke me. My dying mother willing to sacrifice her comfort to avoid a stranger's tantrum. But I stood firm. "That seat is for a terminal patient. Doctor's note is in the file," I said calmly. Karen scoffed. "Everyone has a doctor's note these days." Then the pilot stepped in. Captain Ramirez, tall, late 40s, looked like he'd seen it all. He'd apparently been watching from the jet bridge. He walked straight up to Karen and asked quietly, "Ma'am, did I hear you say this passenger doesn't look sick enough for her assigned seat?" Karen flashed her fake smile. "Captain, thank goodness." "There's been a mix-up," he cut her off, raised a hand, then turned to my mom. "Ma'am, are you comfortable? Need anything before we board?" Mom whispered, "I'm okay. Thank you." He nodded, then faced Karen. My jaw dropped at his next words. "Ma'am, I'm refusing you transport on this flight." The entire gate gasped. Karen blinked. "Excuse me," he said steadily, ice cold. "Your behavior is unacceptable, threatening, discriminatory, and disruptive under federal regulations and airline policy. I can deny boarding to anyone who risks the safety or comfort of others. You're not flying today." Her face went from pink to purple. "You can't do that. I'm elite. I'll have your job." He didn't flinch. He radioed quietly, and minutes later, 2 supervisors and an airport police officer appeared. Karen yelled about lawsuits, corporate complaints, viral videos. The captain just said, "Feel free. Right now you need to leave." I stood there stunned. holding my mom's hand as the nightmare unfolded. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me couldn't believe it. And part of me wondered, what kind of person treats a dying woman like this? As security escorted Karen away, she still shouted threats. The captain crouched beside my mom, eye level. I'm very sorry you had to experience that. Your seat is safe, and if my crew could do anything to make you comfortable, let us know. Mom teared up, smiled faintly. Thank you, Captain. That means more than you know. We boarded first. Flight attendants were extra kind. Pillows, blankets, water before we even asked. Helping Mom settle into that bulkhead seat, watching her finally relax. I couldn't stop wondering, why fixate on that seat so obsessively? It wasn't just entitlement. There was something frantic, almost desperate in her eyes. We settled in. Mom legs stretched, me in the aisle. Flight attendants checked on us. Blankets, ginger ale. Mom closed her eyes, peaceful for the first time in weeks. I thought the worst was over. Then the intercom crackled. Captain Ramirez. Slight delay before pushback. Please remain seated. Groans rippled. I saw a ground crew talking into radios. Something was wrong. 10 minutes later, 2 flight attendants marched down the aisle with supervisor in a red blazer. They stopped at row 12. A woman stood, pink blazer, perfect bob. Karen. Somehow she was on the flight. My stomach dropped. How? Captain banned her. Security escorted her. But there she was, new boarding pass, smirking like she'd won. She didn't sit quietly. She turned and stared straight at my mom, full-on staring. Mom noticed, shifted. Mom shifted uncomfortably and pulled the blanket higher. I leaned forward. Ma'am, please stop. Karen gave that fake sweet smile. I'm just making sure she's comfortable. Wouldn't want her to feel cramped. The man next to her looked mortified, burying his face in his laptop. Whispers spread. Phones came out again. A passenger behind us muttered, Isn't that the lady who got kicked off? Karen twisted around. I was never kicked off. There was a misunderstanding. The captain personally apologized. Liar. I felt my face burn. Mom grabbed my arm. Alex, ignore her, please. But Karen wasn't done. She stood up during taxi, when everyone's supposed to stay seated, and marched straight to the forward galley. I watched her talking animatedly to a flight attendant, pointing toward our seats repeatedly. The attendant's face went from polite to stone cold. She picked up the phone. Captain Ramirez appeared again, this time in the cabin. Passengers went silent. He walked straight to Karen, who had returned to her seat pretending to read a magazine. Ma'am, he said quietly, but loud enough for the first 10 rows to hear, I need you to come with me. Her head snapped up. Captain, I was reassigned by customer service. I have the boarding pass right here. He didn't let her finish. That boarding pass is invalid. It was issued in error. You are not welcome on this aircraft. Her voice rose an octave. This is harassment. I'll sue the airline. I know my rights. By now, the whole plane was watching. A few passengers started slow clapping. Someone yelled, Let her off. Others joined. The energy shifted from awkward to angry. Karen's face twisted. She grabbed her bag and tried to push past the captain toward the exit, but 2 crew members blocked the aisle. She yelled about discrimination, about humiliation in front of everyone, about her lawyer being on the phone. Then she did something I'll never forget. She pointed at my mom and screamed, That seat should be mine. I need it more than she does. The cabin erupted. Someone shouted, Shame on you. A mom with 2 children covered their ears. My own mom went completely white, tears rolling silently down her cheeks. Captain Ramirez didn't raise his voice once. Ma'am, you've now disturbed every passenger on this flight. Airport police are waiting at the gate. You can walk off or they can assist you. Karen looked around, realizing she had lost the room. Her bravado cracked. For the first time, she looked scared, desperate. She pleaded, Please, you don't understand. I have to be on this flight. It's urgent. The captain crossed his arms and explained it to security. As 2 officers boarded and escorted her off again, she kept glancing back at that bulkhead seat, like it was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. People cheered when the door closed. The captain came on the intercom one last time. Thank you for your patience. We'll be underway shortly. To the family in row 1, your seat is safe. Mom squeezed my hand, still shaking. I thought it was finally over. But during the flight, something strange happened. One of the flight attendants slipped me a folded note as she passed with a beverage cart. It wasn't from the crew. It was from a passenger in first class, a doctor who had seen everything at the gate. The note read, "I recognize that woman. She's been pulling this stunt on multiple flights this week. Always demands bulkhead. Always causes a scene. But today was different. She was frantic. I think there's more to it." I showed it to Mom. She frowned and whispered, "Alex," when she yelled the second time, "did you see her necklace?" I hadn't. Mom continued, voice barely audible. "It was a chemo alert pendant, the kind chemo patients wear." My blood ran cold. Was Karen actually sick? Had this nightmare been fueled by her own fear, her own pain spilling out in the worst possible way? We landed safely. Mom finally heard the ocean that night, just like she wanted. But the question burned in my mind. What was Karen really running from or toward that made her willing to destroy a dying woman's last moment of comfort? The answer, when it finally came out days later, flipped everything I thought I knew about that day. 3 days after we landed, Mom was on the beach, blanket over her lap, listening to the waves she'd dreamed about for months. She looked smaller than ever, but her smile was real. I kept checking my phone. Someone at the gate had filmed the whole thing and posted it with the caption, "Pilot bans Karen, who bullied dying mom." Millions of views, thousands of comments, calling her every name imaginable. Then my phone buzzed with a private message from an unknown number. "I'm Karen. Please read this before you hate me forever." I almost deleted it, but I opened the link. It was a hospital discharge summary dated 2 days before our flight. Karen Marie Thompson, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 6 weeks to live, the same diagnosis my mom had. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. She wrote, "I was trying to get to my daughter's wedding in California. She begged me to come even though the doctors said I might not make it. Every flight I tried, I got bumped or delayed. The bulkhead was the only seat I could survive in. I saw your mom in the wheelchair and panicked. If I didn't get that seat, I thought I'd die before seeing my girl walk down the aisle. I became the monster I never wanted to be. I'm so sorry. I had no idea your mom was sick too. I just saw someone else getting what I desperately needed, and I lost my mind." I read it over and over. The necklace Mom had noticed wasn't jewelry. It was her own medical alert tag. She had been hiding the same terror we were living. I showed Mom the message. She read it slowly, tears falling onto the screen. When she finished, she didn't speak for a long time. Then she whispered, "Call her back, Alex. Tell her I forgive her. Tell her to go see her daughter." I dialed. Karen answered on the first ring, voice cracked and small. I told her what Mom said. She broke down sobbing, barely understandable, repeating, "I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve her forgiveness." I told her Mom was on the beach, hearing the ocean. Karen cried harder. I made it to the wedding barely. My daughter held me up during the vows. I told her everything. She said, "I have to make it right." 2 weeks later, a package arrived at our hotel. A small wooden box, a handwritten letter from Karen's daughter, and a USB drive. The letter read, "My mom passed away 5 days ago. She asked me to send this to you. She recorded a video the night she got home from a wedding. She wanted your mom to have it." We plugged it in. Karen's face filled the screen, pale, thin, but smiling. "Hi, I don't know your name, but I know your son's name is Alex. You're the bravest person I ever hurt. I'm so sorry. I was scared and selfish and took my fear out on you. You didn't deserve any of it. Your son stood up for you the way I wish I had for my own daughter sooner. I hope you're hearing the ocean right now. I hope every wave reminds you how strong you are. I'm at peace because of what you gave me. Thank you for teaching me grace, even when I didn't deserve it." Mom watched silently. When it ended, she touched the screen. Then she looked at me and said the last words I ever heard clearly, "Alex, we're all just scared. Be kind anyway. She passed 2 days later peacefully. The sound of waves in the background. That little wooden box on her lap. I never hated Karen again. I understood her. I pitied her. And in the strangest way, I thanked her. That horrible day taught me the lesson Mom wanted me to carry forever. Everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. Even the Karens. Especially the Karens. So if you ever see someone acting like a monster on a plane, in a store, on the street, remember this story. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what are they really afraid of? The pilot didn't just ban her that day. He banned hate from our hearts. And Mom's last gift was showing us how to forgive someone who tried to take her last comfortable seat, yet gave us the biggest lesson of our lives. If you made it this far, thank you. Hit like if you've ever forgiven someone undeserving. Comment the name of the person you forgave. Subscribe. Life's too short for anything less than kindness. Tap the bell so you never miss a new story. Justice, drama, and lessons in human nature are coming next.